Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Betsperts Golf 2023 Valero Texas Open. Ryan Noonan, Andy Molitor, the calm before the storm. Andy, and of course, I mean Live Golf Orlando. How you doing?
Yeah, that is a thing. That's like a bad course. I don't want to get deep into live because there's so much other stuff to talk about, but they've played on some nice enough courses this is a weird stop. And I guess they did a good enough job of like scheduling. Hey, we'll go up against the Valero. No one gives a shit. Plus, there's guys from live that have to play next week. Be interesting. People are posting that already. Like, oh my, what if somebody from live is in contention? I'm like, there's probably a really good chance that Cam Smith is in. He's still likely one of the best golfers in the field. I'd have him in the top 6 or 7 to be sure, and he ain't 6 or 7. So it'll be pretty unique to see what happens with that next week. But for now, yes, we are doing the Valero. We'll get into that. We'll get into the course, the field, the bets, and everything else for this. If you do enjoy the content, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Check out betspertsgolf.com for Ron's free course preview every week. And obviously some extra content this week as we get into some master stuff, looking ahead to, I think it's an 89-man field at the moment, but it could be 90. Should we talk about that quick?
Yeah. I mean,
there could be a person who wins and gets a very late invite to the Masters. If you win this and you're not already in, you could end up changing your plans for next week.
Happened last year. It's happened a multitude of times over the years. This is the last chance to punch your tickets if you aren't already there. And it is always interesting. It is a smaller field. I think you did a good job last year unpacking all the ways that you can get in, winning a variety of amateurs. They actually had a unique thing this year. The PGA the NCAA individual champion got an invite this year, which is not typically one of the ways that they can get in. But again, like Augusta can do whatever they want. I'm, hours away from posting my player guide, breaking down, a little paragraph plus on every single guy in the field. So I've, had to do some deep dives on all of these guys. Lots of amateurs in the field. We still have some of the Larry Mizes, Freddie Couples of the world kicking around at, I don't blame them, Andy. I don't know about you, but like I qualify if I don't need walking assistance and I can walk that for 2 to 4 days. You want to be able to give yourself the out of making the cut by chance. Like I'm playing that thing. I don't give a shit. You need to wheel me around this place. I'm playing.
Yeah, just the atmosphere, the course itself, the prestige of it. If I'm not in physical pain, enough to like stop me from playing, and I'm a legacy champ like the Larry Mize, what have you. Yeah, I'm probably playing. Like a lot of those guys that eventually hang, everyone hangs it up eventually, and usually it's just like I can't physically do it anymore. I'm still gonna come here. I'll come to the dinner. I'll watch, but I just can't do it anymore. So it's for sure next week. And there are like mentioned, I'll have an article up on that just because I think it's fun. And truthfully, it's fun, but it's how it works with every tournament. Every person who's gotten into every tournament, it's just not really well publicized with every other ones. But I think if you go to like the official PGA site, it'll say, hey, here's why this guy is playing this week. He won it, or he's in the top 125 in the OWGR, so he qualifies, or hey, this is a sponsor exemption. There's a lot of different ways, but it's a lot trickier to get into Augusta. That's why there's a sub 90 field. You have to have won an event this past year. You have to, if you've won one of the majors in the past few years, if you finished in the top 4 in any of the majors over the last, year, I believe the Players Champion gets in. Finishing in the top 12 of last year's Masters gets you in. Winning some of these amateur events, there's 3 or 4 amateur events that can get you in. Obviously, having a jacket. Automatic. That's a ticket for life, like we just mentioned. But there is, and like you said, the first one I mentioned right off the bat is winning a tournament during this year. Corey Connors, it's a whole different thing. Like the Ricky thing is like, yes, he is playing a lot better golf, and maybe he's semi-deserving of it. The Corey Connors stuff in 2019 was a lot more fun because I believe he Monday qualified, or something like that, where he was kind of in his younger years. Like he wasn't one of the favorites to win the tournament. As you know, Ricky maybe shouldn't be 20-1. We can discuss that. But like, you know, Corey Connors wasn't supposed to win a tournament to get into the Masters, and he did. And that's a much more fun story than, you know, what we'd get here if something like Ricky happened. But yeah, there's a shitload of guys this week who are not in the Masters field. And if one of them banks a trophy Sunday, that is very much life-changing. So that's what makes this tournament fun, despite being a lead-up. Also ran, hey, you're going up against Major League Baseball opening day. You're going up against the Final Four this weekend. Like, there's a lot of other stuff going on. But I would love, well, I'd love nothing else than to hit an outright for fucking once in my life. But I would love some drama surrounding, like, oh my God, Brendan Todd's going to the Masters. Maybe he's in the field. I don't even.
He's not currently.
He's not.
No.
So that's if I can't get an outright, my second wish would be give me some drama surrounding a guy that's like in contention or leading. It's like, man, it's not just the trophy and the prize money. It's like this guy has a lot of pressure on him to play these, you know, the back nine on Sunday pretty flawlessly here to take this down, go to Augusta. So, but yeah, turning our head back to Texas, what do you know about the course, Ryan?
Yeah, Ron's free preview up on the site, as Andy mentioned, again, is extensive and detailed as anything out there. You can also get course history, you know, recent finishing positions, obviously strokes gain data at this event too. This is the one we referenced even last week, Andy, the Charlie Hoffman Open, where, you know, Hoffman won here and then basically just top 5 every year. It is a long course. Ironically, it is a Greg Norman / Sergio Garcia design. Sergio loved it so much that he played it one time before, never playing it again. But pretty straightforward course. You can miss the fairways here. The rough is not super penal, but really bad drives are problematic because you get into, and Ron actually puts the video on his preview, the Kevin Na 16 here. You can get yourself way offline here and end up in the desert, behind some rocks, behind some, rolling weeds of Texas. Like it becomes really problematic. The greens are kind of small. Again, like it's a Texas course. So at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the wind in terms of how difficult this plays. That's why we've seen scoring kind of, look very different from year to year. Long par fives. Par five's hard to reach for everybody. That's why I think you see a lot of shots from over 200 yards in terms of proximity ranges. And then also a lot of like really short irons because there's some forced layups essentially on those par fives that are going to leave you basically 100, 125 in. So, kind of a bunch of different things that matter a little bit here too, but not a lot of like bells or whistles, not a lot of water, not a lot of problems unless you get way offline in terms of your drives.
Yeah, like you said, Texas course, not too dissimilar from last week, except you're not going to see boats flooding by. There's not, not the built-in water. Yeah, the Kevin Na thing, very memorable. He shot, it's not on hole 16. It was hole number 9. The 16 that Ryan said, in case you kind of glossed over and missed what he was talking about, the 16 was his score for that hole. Yeah. He actually parred it the next. Obviously, that's not the kind of score you can make the cut with. Usually, he parred it. So he averaged a 10 for the hole for those 2 days, but the 16 was wild. It's worth watching the video because it's something. It's like that. Did you see the video of the guy who had a ball kind of in the fringe and he's standing in the bunker? Went around Twitter the other day and he takes 43 hacks at it and you're like, what is going on? And then he gets up and it's like, and he can't stand. It's like, oh, he's pissed drunk. Yeah. Kevin Na was not pissed drunk. Kevin Na was assumedly sober and he made an absolute mess of it. It's a masterpiece of messes. That one's fun. There are some bad runoffs and bunkering if you do miss the small greens. Wedge play around the greens, scrambling. Yep. Very much going to come into play. Getting creative with your shots so you can find these small greens that's come into play. It's one of those where you look at it at first, you look at the length, you look at some of the holes and you say, bomber's course. But there is, and again, this has been a theme for like the last month, it feels like. It is still a spot where, you're going to club down in a few things. There's going to be some of these where it's like, it's a forced club down. It's not somewhere where I can just grip it and rip it with the one. So still being accurate off the tee with your other clubs and being accurate and lengthy is going to help. Like bombers are going to benefit on some of these longer holes. Some of the fives are crazy long, but at the same time, you still need to be accurate. You can get into a lot of trouble if you miss the fairways here. There's just some bad spots to end up. Like you said, the rough's not going to be horrid, but there's just some spots you're not going to want to find. So find the fairway. Being long is going to help on a chunk of the holes. Being able to scramble, being able to hit your wedges in short wedges, honestly, and some of the stuff around the green, and then just being creative enough to stay out of trouble when you need to stay out of trouble, and make sure you're finding pars and not getting these blow up holes, because you're going to need to score here. This is going to be there's going to be some pretty low scores here.
Yeah,
and I mean, I did say that there's some longer fives, but I mean, there's some. If you're a bomber, there's probably two of these fives where you have going to eagle putts, man.
Yeah. The weather. Do we have any early looks in terms of? I have not got to that part yet at all in terms of what we're expecting from a wind standpoint, because that is really the difference maker.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. They said that last week, especially on the back nine, you can get some problems with the wind. It looks like we're gonna have just pretty standard, not too bad, kind of the 5 to 15 range, depending on the time of the day. Thursday, there's some places that are saying Thursday afternoon could be up in the over 15 miles per hour wind. Another one is saying, well, actually the same site says there's a decent spike of wind in the early afternoon, late morning on Friday. The weekend looks fine, but again, I'm not the kind of guy who's going to trust a weekend weather report on a Tuesday morning. So if it does get real windy, that's going to be a problem. Some of these guys we mentioned with, just like Morikawa, I think it was something that came up with him, but some of these guys with the lower club head speeds that can't cut through the wind, hit some stingers with their fairway woods, with their twos. Some of the guys that aren't going to be able to rip through this and are, often reliant on taking a club and hitting it a little higher. Like that sort of shit ain't going to play when it gets windy. So be interesting to see what the weather ends up doing here. But it does look like we're going to be contending with a little bit of wind. I don't know is that something you do? Like you say, hey, I have guys. I'll say what I do. I don't have guys that I say, hey, this guy's a great wind player. But I have guys that I go the opposite way with. I say, this guy kind of fucking sucks in the wind.
Yeah.
And it's like, it helps me cross a guy off. So when there is bad weather like this, it's more of a cross off for me than oh God, I got to get this guy because he can truck it in the bad winds.
It's so tough. I think it's such some of the golf stats in general, I think, are fairly noisy. And I think it is very noisy to look too much into it in terms of like how much you would weight strokes gain win. I know Ron does some work around it. Again, being able to like really pin down like the wind at the time of the day when that guy was on the course. It's always a small sample size. I think there's the added element of whatever the course is that they're playing that time that we don't really capture in the wind stuff. I think it's just, there are so many elements to it that make it very noisy. I do think it can sometimes be one of those spots where the eye test matters. We saw Justin Thomas navigate himself around both TPC Sawgrass and Southern Hills in really, really bad weather and kind of come out on top.
I know I almost brought him up. He's not here, but there are some guys. But usually if it's a guy like that, it's like, well, he's an elite player anyway.
Yeah.
He fell out of the top 10, I guess. But
yeah, but no one else at the time when he went off at Sawgrass or Southern Hills kind of maintained like par level golf, where everyone else was just like popping it into 17 time and time again. And like, again, the fact that he came out on top of the PGA at Southern Hills when he was in the bad side of the weather draw was pretty impressive. So, again, like maybe the tails, to your point, like who really is bad that I want to kind of cross off because of the wind, just a handful of guys that maybe I've seen myself because I just don't really trust any of the statistical stuff. Ron and I have gone back and forth on some of the stuff too, because I do think some of the overfitting, and you and I have discussed it too, in terms of like our new tool, like when you're building out models, you can overfit sometimes, you can double count, and it gets a little bit noisy in terms of what actually is signal in that. So like, again, you can use the tool and do that. You can go on to betspertsgolf.com, go into our customizable stats database. You can go into the filters and you can select windy strokes gain metrics and get a feel for who you think is better. I think it's a little noisy, but again, that's what the tool allows you to do. And, that's, I guess, cool resource if you like it.
I think that's a good way to use the tool as well, as far as like doing some research on that, just being like, hey, is this actually a thing, or is it just the sample size sucks and there's just the sample size sucks, it's all over the place, I don't think this is actually something I should be looking at. Whereas, I'm probably I do tend to stick to a lot of the, just the higher up metrics for most of this stuff, where it's like, I'm just gonna not get too down in the weeds on it. You can, and I think that's where the granularity of the tool that we built there is nice for doing some research project. But at the same time, I'm not so sure you should just assume like, hey, this is predictive because it's going to be windy this week.
Correct. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, the field, it's not terrible. Again, a non-elevated event. You mentioned we have the last chance to qualify for the Masters. We do have a bunch of guys, Corey Connors, Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, Hideki, which we can get to as well. Cam Champ, who doesn't do anything except show up in top 10 of the Masters to punch himself a ticket. Again, he's in the field. Sepp Straka, Molinari, Norin, Ryan Fox, and Terrell Hatton are all already, they're in this field and on their way to the Masters. So let's start there and just like big picture before we get into any specific players. Are you crossing guys off in terms of this week, motivation, getting yourself in form, using it to warm up? Or can a guy who's already punched a ticket here actually just go out and ensure that no one else goes?
Yeah, that's the thing too. It's still like part of the deal. No, I don't think anyone is. I mean, there's an $8.9 million pot to be split up. This is their livelihood. No one's saying I'm just taking this week off, or I'm. If you took the time to drive to San Antonio, fly to San Antonio, whatnot, play a practice round, work with your caddy, have your caddy walk the course, spend your time getting the camp set up, finding a house to live in for the week. I don't think anyone's going to say, I'm already in the Masters, I don't give a shit about this tournament. There's no one here of that. Like, I mean, maybe Hideki, who's won a Masters, and he's, at this point, like a legacy Hall of Fame player. But even him, like, I'm injured. I need to be using this to test this out, see if I'm feeling well enough to play well next week, or for God's sake, just pull out again if you're obviously not healthy. But like, you look at the top of the board, and I don't know how much I should be actually saying that Ricky Fowler is like your second favorite, because I truthfully think I would bet a no on him if you gave me the right price. But 18-1 is just silly for a guy, considering some of the other names in the field, and he's played well, but not that well. So right off the top of the board, some of the guys that are already in, I don't want to say I'm tossing them out because they don't give a shit this week. I'm tossing out Hatton because his price is too low, and he had the hand injury. I mean, that's the reason I toss out Hatton. I toss out Matsuyama because if he's 100% healthy, he's clearly the favorite in this. But even at 25-1, and with the possibility of, hey, I'm just going to go test this out and see if I'm good enough, and I might withdraw, I'm not betting him. Some of the guys, the names that are in, I'm throwing them out for completely different reasons.
I'm kind of with you, because I think, like, all right, you want to get in and tune up for Augusta, just go to Augusta. Like, why would you go and play 2 rounds in San Antonio, kind of half-ass, not really caring if you make the cut? Like, you can't cover your travel expenses. Like, you're not going to make any money. If you want to get ready for Augusta, just go play practice rounds at Augusta. Like, skip this, especially if you're already in. So I think if they're there to compete. You make the point of Hideki probably should be the favorite. I don't know what number is bettable for Hideki. This is the spot last year where he withdrew in the first round due to his neck injury. So, like, I don't know what the right spot is, but, like, yeah, he should be probably the favorite. But, like, 25 is not interesting. I don't know that, like, 35 or 40 is interesting, but, like, I do think he is played really well at Sawgrass. Like, he's definitely appealing to me a little bit, maybe next week, if he can get through this and not kind of worsen things here. But let's talk about Ricky. We are taking a stand. He's playing really good golf. Ron apparently did not get the memo because Ron fired on a Ricky outright this morning. So Ron is doubling down against the house here, because we are saying here at BetSperts Golf that if Ricky Fowler goes out and wins this tournament, which a lot of people want to see him do, and I'd be there on Sunday.
I want to cheer against it twice. So I'm cheering against it because I'm not a Ricky guy, and also I'm against the price at this point. But yeah, we've said it. If you sign up for a monthly sub to test out the new tool or take advantage of the members only Discord, whatever, it's $20. If Ricky wins, I'll just give it back to you. That's how down I am on him winning this tournament. Straight up, just give you the cash back. Free. It's a free. If he's I don't even care if, like, I might leave this up. Like, if he's leading after the second round, I might still just offer it up. I didn't actually set like a date on this, so
yeah, he'll let it roll. Well, he is playing good golf. I do think the price is ridiculous at 18. Again, like, I don't know. The form is there. The narrative is there. The books know what they're doing here. They know the story. They know that he's on the cusp. He needs to win to get himself in at this point. And again, it's playing good, to Andy's point, but is he playing sub 20 good? That's a stretch for me, but will be interesting to see what happens here. Again, you also have in the top tier here, Siwoo Kim, basically 20 at the most spots. Corey Connors, who played really good golf last week in the match play. Obviously, his lone career victory on the PGA Tour here in San Antonio, has a sneaky 3 straight top 10s at Augusta, which is interesting. And he's starting to play some really good golf. So again, Corey Connors finishing position bets next week are probably pretty interesting if the form continues and he shows here in Texas. Other guys sub 30, Matt Kuchar, who is just, again, really hard to bite on sub 30, but played good last week in another spot that he always plays well in. Kuchar can punch his ticket here as well. And Chris Kirk, who I think likes this course, fits well, is already there. Kirk is the most interesting to me in like the 30 or shorter range. I have not fired on that. Is there anything that we've talked about here so far that has kind of caught your attention?
Yeah. Ricky's like 10K too in DFS. I know we're not a DFS show. We have that tomorrow, but man, it's almost upsetting. I do want to say, and I will go back to him. Like, if you guys followed golf long enough, you remember good Ricky, 17, 18, maybe, even into 19. 19, he wins Waste Management, second at the Honda, plays well at the Masters. I think where I'm looking, top 5, Tour of Champions, Tournament of Champions, top 5s, that's a very small field. That's a whole different thing. But that summer, the Masters top 10, Wells Fargo, 4th in 2019, gains 11 strokes on the field, 6th at the Open that summer, gains 10, and then he would not gain 10 strokes again on the field for a couple of years. He would lose 10 strokes to the field a couple times, but it took until and it's the Zozo. So, I mean, grain of salt here. Like, when he came back, played the Fortinet, was decent. And then he played the Zozo, got a second, it was decent. Well, there was a little grain of salt because it's like, hey, these are shit events. It's the swing season. I'm not going to give him a lot of credit here. But what he's done, I don't know, since kind of January, it does speak to some of the changes we saw him make. So, and it's not the 10, 11, 12 strokes gained against the field, but 8, 8.5, 9, somewhere in that range. It looks like 7.3 at the players' total strokes gained. Like, those are good outings against good fields. Waste Management top 10. That's an elevated event. That's a good field. The players is obviously a great field. Like, some of the results he's had do have me biting my tongue a little, as far as, hey, it's Ricky Fowler, he fucking sucks, don't bet on him. I just don't know if he should be at the point where he's second favorite. I would probably price him 25 to 28 to 1 here. But if he wins, I guess joke's on me, and I'm giving back a bunch of subscription money, which would be fun for you guys. The rest of the top of the board, obviously, Siwoo's going to be very popular this week. Betting, maybe DFS, he's sub 10, probably one and dones. Just really good around the green play, good enough approach, just decent enough form. It's not a
Finds fairways.
it's not a top heavy field, but kind of is without having huge names. Like there's a bit of a drop off. I think a lot of the strategy this week for me is taking some punts further down. There's going to be a lot of the, you and I love that 30 to 50 range traditionally. I love it a lot more this week, and I obviously love just some long shot bombs in a week like this, where we've seen some of these guys that maybe don't have big names but have had decent enough form, small sample size, come out and pop in tournaments like this. So kind of avoiding maybe, Siwoo, I wanted a bigger number on. I don't know if I'm betting him at 10. Connors has been disappointing for me lately. Matsuyama, like we said, the price is wrong. Maybe. So it gets to be like the Montgomery, Davis, Riley, Chris Kirk section before I even think about making a bet. I don't know. I haven't looked at your Discord picks yet. Did you take any of those? Montgomery, Davis, Riley, Chris Kirk?
No, Kirk is the closest. I don't love this setup from Montgomery. I know people like Davis Riley this week. I forgot to mention him in the sub 30. He's basically across the board, he's in that range. Referencing a Corn Ferry Tour victory here at the spot a few years ago for Davis Riley. Again, that stuff to me is super duper noisy. We're talking about a different field years ago, 4 rounds of golf. I don't want to overstate that. Davis Riley, it would be interesting to me, like 40, but 22 is not something that I can bite at. So yeah, I'm way down the board. I'm not sure. I plan to go pretty heavy at the Masters, and subscribers know I like to do these. FanDuel offers these top 40. You can parlay top 40s, and again, at a place like the Masters where we have 90 people in the fields, the odds aren't always massively adjusted. They sometimes feel like they are normal 156 man fields. So I'll probably be pretty heavy on finishing positions and stuff like that at the Masters. Pretty lights here so far, and nothing at the top of the board intrigues me. It's Kirk for me if I had to make a play here, but I'm way down. I don't jump in until 60. So
yeah, I'm just kind of looking at what I put together for models this week. Like I'm not really interested in anybody until we get to Cam Davis. Like maybe, and again, I'm still shopping. Like I did mention Brendan Todd in passing, joking. Brendan Todd isn't a bad shot this week either. But yeah, there's no one sub 30 that I'm super interested in betting in this week. And we've seen a lot of chalk come through, such as life. I guess it goes on runs like that. It's not predictive. It's not like, oh, chalk's been winning, got to bet chalk.
Right.
It does just kind of come down to a lot of different factors. Luck, weather, what time you draw, a lot of shit can happen. Golf is hard. But for me, for my money, just the way I have my pricing, the way I have my models built this week, the way I think this tournament might go, I can't get down with betting anyone under 30 for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, in that other range, why are you, I mean, just Kuchar, Noren, Griffin, Fox, Wallace, sub 50 kind of chunk there, put in Spawn, JJ Spawn as well. Reasons for avoiding anything there for you?
No, the one that is interesting to me that I haven't is Ryan Fox, who we saw last year, just can get ridiculously hot and streaky. And you kind of look at his page, and look at kind of like his results, and there's just a lot of good finishes grouped together. And then he'll, T60, miscut, T40, and then it gets like white hot again. And played pretty good golf last week at a spot where I wasn't super interested in him in terms of like kind of mitigating his distance. We talked a little bit here about like, I'm not like overweighting distance, but I do think it can help you. We know Fox can absolutely bomb it. The putter can get hot. Like we've seen what he can do. So he's interesting to me. It looks like 45s are the best number. It looks like you would have a 44 and change at Chris on Fox. He's of interest. Brendan Todd is like the complete opposite type of player. But this is a type of spot where Todd can get, really hot. Again, the putter, like we saw at Pebble, we almost came home for us at Pebble where he gained like 3 strokes per round on the greens, which is in the range of outcomes for Brendan Todd. Fairway finder, which I think matters. So Yeah, those guys are on the radar. I think I'm saving bullets. I jumped in on Nick Taylor. It's my first play. Nick Taylor, I got at 60. It looks like Taylor is down to 50 everywhere. I like the recent form there. He played really well at Waste Management, showed up well at Valspar. I like some of the, in terms of some of the stuff statistically that we're waiting this week. Really good scrambler. You can make some birdies, avoids bogeys at a pretty decent clip. Approach has been decent. Short irons, inside 100 yards, he's pretty damn good at that. So I like Nick Taylor's number. If you're able to get to 60 with us first thing on Monday morning, it's great. I'd still shoot at 50. I think he's an interesting player and like kind of his current form. So he's the shortest for me currently.
Yeah. Yeah. In that section, and Cam Davis is a little lower on Chris.
Yeah, I don't see
if I can get it better than a 50. Cam Davis is someone that obviously came in a little higher for me. The top of my board, the top of my models are just like, hey, it's Hatton, Siwoo, and depending how you treat Matsuyama, he's in there. If you start putting in form, obviously it drags him down. But Aaron Rye was someone who came in a little hot for me this week. I dug in on him. That's something I'd be looking at again because Chris has close to 60 on him. I don't know if I've ever had a lot of success betting Aaron Rye. I'm almost sure I'm saying his name right now. I feel like that's been good.
That's correct.
Not a bomber, but
no.
Pretty like just not like short, but I don't even think he's quite tour average. A little shorter off the tee, but incredibly accurate and really strong with your second shot accuracy stuff, your good drives gained, your greens in regulation, which again is double counting because good drives gained is just greens and regulations based off of drive landing, in certain areas. So decent enough at the Players top 20 there. I don't want to go back too far with this guy because it was not that long ago. He was a Corn Ferry guy, doing okay in some comp events. I haven't quite sold myself on him based on, I think some of it's just like my short-term form likes him because it was a really nice, ball striking tee to green performance at the Players. But 60-1, I'm pretty close on. Putting can let him down, but I think these are going to be fairly easy putting surfaces, nice and slow. I know that was going to be the nudge, and yeah, I don't know what number did you get on him.
75.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Look at me. This is why I don't wait till Tuesday. I shouldn't wait till Tuesday anymore.
Yeah, 75 on Aaron Rye. Yeah, you know what? He some of his stuff at the Players, he went. Well, I think he had 2 water balls on 17 on Sunday and took himself out of like the top 10. So his ball striking numbers were even better than what they were showing based off of the water balls on Sunday, which kind of changed things a little bit for him. But yeah, I mean, anytime a guy wears 2 black gloves, I think you just got to find ways to back him. It's a unique look on tour, and you look a little bit he's played some pretty good Euro events. He's an Englishman. And had some pretty good finishes in some strong field Euro events, even though he hasn't been around too long. So yeah, he's interesting to me. I think he's, again, like you said, he's not long, but he's going to find fairways. He's really good on approaches from over 200 yards, which matters, I think, quite a bit this week. Approach overall has been kind of up lately over the last 24 rounds. He is trending up. Short proximity is pretty good too. I'm 14th. From 125 to 150 over the last 24 rounds. So there's some stuff that's kind of going in the right direction for him. And it'd still take us 55s on DraftKings. Looks like 60 on Chris. It's probably going to be.
Yeah, I'm probably in on him. And you're right. And it's been a bit, but he's a guy who's won in Europe.
Yeah.
He was kind of touted when he was young. It's been a few years, but good enough. He's good enough to win an event like this, especially at that price. So, all right, I'm in on Riot around. I hate lying to you guys and saying I bet Riot 60. I bet him at plus 59.86. It's not quite 60. So,
a man of integrity.
Man of integrity here. Aaron Rye came in pretty high for me, so I'll be on him. Next, what's your Putnam? What's your Putnam theory?
I mean, I should have been on him last week. That's a Putnam event where the putting can really matter.
That's where I kind of tossed him out. I'm like, I don't know if I can take a guy who makes his hay on the putting greens at a place like this, because if the ball striking isn't good enough to probably be finding these small greens consistently and doing well here, so I did kind of toss him out at the price.
Yeah, like the only thing that I have him rating out well in terms of things that I'm waiting this week is scrambling. And just it matters here, as you mentioned, but it just is something that like I don't want to overweight and give credit to the ball striking stuff. Some of the proximity ranges that I think are important this week that I'm not weighing, but I just pulled because you could do that too, just to see kind of where they're popping in that. He's just not checking any of those boxes in terms of proximity, and that kind of plays itself out in strokes gained approach, which I am am weighing heavily. He's like 70th in the field. So in this type of field, I want him to be, better at the thing that I think is the most important, and that is approach.
Yeah. So. Well, that leads us to, what do you think of our guy, Mr. Smalley? Go the opposite direction. Can't putt, good approach, real good greens and regulation numbers. And it's going to be somewhere in the 60 to 70 range, kind of right above him in that, there's I guess some people, Straka's kind of in that section 2, Sam Ryder. But out of anybody, I bet Smalley the most. I feel like he's just, you get drawn to the guys that you make cases for them, you write about them, you talk about them, and then you see them again the next week. And it's like, it's a weird subconscious tiebreaker where it's like, oh, Alex Smalley, he's an Andy guy. I'm gonna look at him.
That's a work for me for Max Homa. It is not worked for me for Aaron Wise. So I understand how we can get there. You just, you kind of lock on some guys. Yeah, Smalley for sure. I mean, very, very, very bettable. You said it's 70 or 80? What do you got? Oh, you got 60 at Chris. Looks like there's some 70s out there in the market too. 75 on DraftKings. It's actually a really good number. He rates out pretty highly for me. And some of the other things that I'm not weighing that I'm looking at, short irons have been really good. Bogey avoidance, really, really strong, second in the field.
Yeah.
So yeah, we know the approach game is pretty much consistently his game, and the most sticky stat and what matters the most. So in a weak field like this, like where we've seen bombs win, like I have no problem with a Smalley fire at 75 for sure.
Yeah, I found an 80 at
Nice.
Bet Online. Like, I'm gonna be fine with that. So
yep, yeah, that's a good number. Ben Taylor is a guy that's showing up really highly for me. Where's Ben Taylor? Ben Martin. Where's Ben Martin rate for you?
I like, what did Cal say in the chat? I like all the Bens. I like all the Bens. I have Martin as my favorite Ben of the week.
Okay. Best Ben.
Griffin's not far, but again, another one where it's like, man, you are finding greens and your putting kind of short game in general sucks. Like around the green, scrambling isn't a strong suit, but the rest of the game is pretty good. And yeah, Ben Martin was. I looked at Ben Martin, Ben Griffin right away. I made the joke about what Cal said. Not as big of a Ben Taylor, but that's a different story. That's a much, much bigger number. But for the tiebreaker between the two, I would take again, based on price as well, but I'd take Ben Martin over Ben Griffin if I had to bet a Ben, and I've been pretty close on Martin.
Yeah, I mean, Corrales last week, again, windy, naturally windy, exposed, finished 8th. Honda, windy, difficult course, long approaches, 5th. Pebble Beach, coastal, windy, 13th. Like, so he's put out some pretty good recent finishes. You get him in bigger events, Players, Valspar, like still fine, making cuts. He's made 5 straight cuts. So he's, playing pretty well, but some of his better finishes on tour have been at windier events, coastal type courses, second to Corrales last year. So it's like a spot where, he's comfortable playing at. So not great last year at Valero, but again, I'm not overweighting that, but yeah, I don't know. Like seems to be trending in the right direction.
He's too. You can find 90 per year, Chris. So 89 to 1. He's very close to my. I'm starting to get to the point where it's of the card where it's like, hey, do I maybe bet less on some of these guys? And I think we have one where we match on. And you probably got a better number than me, but still over 100-1 at Chris. And we talk about, hey, this is not a difficult course. You can get in trouble. You do need to be accurate. You do need to stay out of, kind of not get in your own way at times. But if I want a guy who can just get streaky as shit, play some really good golf, maybe throw a 26 out on the turn, and we saw do it like as recently as last week for 100-1. I think you can do a lot worse than our friend Akshay.
20 on the first 9 on Friday, like put himself in the mix, like faded a little bit. He was not around much in the weekend. It really wasn't in contention, but I mean, ball striking stuff that we about is really good for the young kid. So yeah, he's birdie or better is going to give himself a lot of looks. Again, shorter proximity, longer proximity. He's been really good. Scrambling is kind of the worry. He's been kind of a mess around the greens, but yeah, just a ton of talent there, and just a name I want to continue to buy on in weaker fields. I got 150. You're still out over 100. I have no problem going to Akshay for some upside, and it's obviously not going to cost you a lot at that price.
No, there's some fun bombs once you get over 100. I mean, it's guys we like, guys we've talked about, like, and the form sucks, but Emiliano Grillo is a guy that I've bet quite a bit, and he's good enough golfer. If he turns it around, he's one of the better players in the field at times. EVR is not someone I'm betting, but that's a big number for a guy that can play well. God, what was the other one? There were some bombs I looked at right off the bat. It's like, man, I'm a Lanto Griffin guy. I just couldn't quite do it. But this is one where it's like, if you have your guys and you think there's some sneaky stats here and there, there's some big numbers on like a Callum Tarrant, Justin Lauer. God, who's the other one?
I'm waiting for the name. I'm waiting for the guy. You might not bet him to win, but you might bet him to finish well.
Lashley? Honestly, of some really big numbers that I would look at for a top 20 that's over 100-1 right now, Seung-Hun Kim, SH Kim. Like I've kind of been an SH Kim guy at times. I don't know what. I didn't hit your guy then?
Cam Percy.
Oh, God, yeah. I've been just the Cam Percy thing.
Cam Percy
top 40s are back, I guess.
Yeah, I was surprised. Like I ran the stuff and I'm like, oh man, Andy's gonna talk. I'm sorry, he's gonna pop for Andy this week for sure. So Joseph Bramlett's a guy for me deep down. I think you can find 110 on DraftKings for Bramlett. Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do it outright. I might. Short proximity is really good. He hits it a mile. Approach has actually been trending up, which I like to see. So, again, like hasn't been a guy that necessarily paints fairways. But again, like, I don't know, he is showing the ability, like he played well at and again, not a comp course because it's a short course, but I was surprised to see him play well at Pebble a while back. Like not a spot where I think, but he's shown the ability, like, okay, I can club down. My distance is still going to play out in other ways. Maybe not just hammering it off the tee because he can hit it a mile. Like he'll have an advantage even with his longer irons too. And he's been doing that fairly well. So Bramlett's kind of one of my favorite longer shots that I have not tackled yet. But like Luke List is down here. Like Luke List is like, he won a big boy field last year. Has played actually decent in the Masters at times when he's made his way into the field. So like, he's a guy that probably shouldn't be down here, but again, like hasn't been playing really good golf. The EVR thing I think is interesting too. He's a guy that is probably a little too long in terms of his just overall baseline skill set and his career based off of where he is now. So yeah. That's an interesting one.
Putting matters. Putting always matters. It's literally almost always the last shot you'll take on a hole, unless you're Jordan Spieth. It just, we always talk about, it's like the running back things. Like, hey, running backs don't matter. Oh, why does every team have 4 running backs in? Yeah, it's the same thing. Putting doesn't matter. It's because it's not sticky. It's just hard to be predictive in a lot of courses. Like good putters are guys that have spike putting in them. That's a thing. It's just hard to use putting as like a heavy weight in any of these models. So something I like to do sometimes is look at all the things I really, really think matter and then take out everything short. Like just completely take out putting and anything short, scrambling around the green, anything like that, and just look at guys like who's just getting me to the hole, who's getting to the hole in the conditions I've set, and you always end up with some stupid long shots. And then those are guys that I look into. And obviously, you take out putting and just leave everything else. Luke List is like your sixth best golfer here. So
Oh yeah,
we're gonna just we'll get that out of the way. That'll happen every time Luke List is in the field. That's how bad he is at putting the ball in general. But Grillo's another guy that pops up. Neesmith, and then the one I will look at with the Percy's as far as, hey, maybe I should bet some top 40s. Hayden Buckley, Nate Lashley, Mark Hubbard, like that whole range there again, just, especially Buckley. Buckley, very good ball striker, very good at finding greens, very good drives gained. Just around the green and putting are going to be way, way down there.
Yep.
Decent enough irons, but he's going to be like 100 or 1 to better. A lot of these guys were mentioned, just great looks at some top 20s. If you guys think you found some decent numbers on that. But for me, avoiding the bomb is probably, I think my whole card is just going to be Akshay, Aaron Rai, and I got the 80 on, where did I get my 80 on? Smalley, excuse me.
Smalley, okay. You did not fire Cam Davis, but your Cam Davis would probably be your 15 shorter bet if you were to jump in.
I'm looking like where we have the best price. So 48 at Chris. Fuck it, we'll add Cam Davis.
Yeah, 50 on DraftKings, 50 on points bet, Rivers. Yep.
Yeah. Smalley, Davis, Akshay, and Mr. Aaron Rai. That's my whole card for outrights this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have Nick Taylor, Aaron Rai, and Bhatia. And I might keep it there. I don't know, the Bramlett. I just might do Bramlett in a finishing position bet. Some of those other guys that you mentioned, I'd probably do Ben Martin the same way. I like the Lashley call outs. Eric Cole is interesting to me. Mm-hmm. Again, approach has been really good. You know, going a little bit on the Honda corollary, where as part of why I think Chris Kirk makes some sense there too. Weaker fields, wind, difficult golf course, longer irons come into play quite a bit. Cole, we know, was in the mix there with Kirk on Sunday at the Honda. Smalley's kind of in the same boat, probably not getting outright money from me, but I think finishing positions are interesting. And then 2 more. Will Gordon. Scrambling is a problem. But some of the other stuff has been pretty good. And I have him as the best in the field on approaches over 200 yards. And just approach in general, he's been pretty good. And Robbie Shelton's been playing good golf. I know he's been pretty popular in the space. I have not clicked Robbie Shelton in any way, shape, or form of late, but has been playing fairly decent. And again, overall approach is kind of carrying his weight here. But if I'm giving anything the most weight, it is approach. So Robbie Shelton might get a little bit more of a deep dive here for me and might find his way into a T40 bet, considering he's 90 to 1 for the most part. So, you know, you're still getting a plus money T40 here, which is always appealing.
Gotcha. So I think that might be it. I don't have anything else. We'll return to the page. It's Masters content now, guys. So
all right. So what is the best scenario for any of these live guys on Sunday? Like just from like a TV viewing standpoint, not from your wallet. I don't know if you've bet. And maybe we can do that too.
I haven't yet.
Okay. Like, what do we want to see? What do we want on the weekends? Because it's the Masters.
Yeah, no one's going to see this, right? I mean, not only do you have an actual tournament, you have the Final Four and you have baseball starting. Like, I think best case for Liv is like Cam just wrecks the field. Like, he comes out and he plays ball like we saw when he won. You know, like we saw last summer. It's like, holy shit. Or like when he was going shot for shot with Scotty at Augusta. Like, my God. That, like, I want the hype built up around Cam where it's like, all right, you know, hey, you got this, you know, you've got this big gang and then you get this small shitty gang that's coming to town, but they have one tough guy and he's going to give you something. I don't know.
So I phrased it wrong. I want to know. I phrased it wrong.
Are you talking about at Augusta?
I want your live guys.
Oh, I want like Cam Smith to win. That's hilarious.
It would be very interesting.
Truthfully, even just I mean, your best case scenario is Cam Smith and Rory are 3 clear of the field, and they like going into Sunday. I mean, the narratives and the absolute hyperbole that will be written will be like, this is a battle. I mean, it'll be like, this is Normandy. This is D-Day. This is like the battle for humanity and the future of golf come Sunday. Like, I mean, the over the top takes will be hilarious. So I mean, yeah, just Rory and Cam or I mean, just Rory and anyone, even Rom and Cam, Rom and DJ, Max, uh, Fitzy. I mean, any of the big PGA names against one of the big live names, like going battle toe for toe. I mean, maybe Answer has it. Maybe maybe there's like 6 or 7 names that could make a run. Answer's in the field, correct?
Yeah, Neiman
For sure.
Yeah, Neiman's the one that's interesting to me, and I saw the odds for Orlando, and I tweeted something out because like the Live Orlando event has Cam at 12, DJ at 12, and Neiman at 12. And then when you fast forward next week to Augusta, which again I know where the course history matters more to Augusta than anywhere else. Like Cam's like 20, 21, DJ's like 30, 32, Neiman's 75. They're all the same price this week in Orlando. And there's a massive discrepancy in what their price is next week at Augusta, which is interesting to me. Neiman fared pretty well there last year in the first round with a lot of eyeballs on him playing with Tiger. But yeah, I don't know if any live guys are getting my money. I want to see Brooks on the weekends at Augusta. Like
I'm not holding my breath.
I'm not either, but I'm saying like that would be good TV. This is what I'm, again, the hype that comes with Augusta anyway is always interesting. We again have, the big 3 playing as good as anyone ever. You have the Rory narrative around the career Grand Slam, and now you have the influx of these 18 live guys coming back onto the PGA Tour, which is really, really, really interesting. So I cannot wait for it. It's gonna be good.
For sure. So, all right. Yeah. Well, same place, same time next week. We'll catch you for that. Obviously, check out the DFS show. Leave a thumbs up. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check out BetSports Golf. Follow us all on Twitter. Have fun. Good luck. Win money. And we'll see you next week for some Masters stuff, guys.